Crossovers have been around since the birth of video games, and some of them have fell short of fans' expectations. Let's take a look at 10 bizarre video game crossovers that will make you scratch your head. It will probably also leave you asking, what were those guys thinking? Because why mess up a perfectly good series by trying to force it to work with another? It's like being a slave with extra steps. If you get that Rick and Morty reference, then you'll enjoy this list. Franchises want to believe that what they've created is a special and unique snowflake in the gaming world. But when you try to do a crossover, it might not always be beneficial. You know what is beneficial? Subscribing to our channel and notification squad so you can get updates on all of our new releases. Injustice: Gods Among Us Scorpion DLC. This fighting game, released in 2013 and set in a fictional DC universe, was an instant success, especially for fans of the comic book characters. The story is a pretty easy one to follow and might seem familiar to fans. In this alternate version of the Justice League's universe, Superman becomes a tyrant set on creating a new world after the Joker is able to trick him into killing Lois Lane and destroying Metropolis. In the game, fans of Batman will be especially pleased to see him take charge of characters from both his roster and Superman's to defeat the Man of Steel. It won't be easy, but it also allows a lot of playable characters to choose from. When I first heard of the addition of Scorpion, I didn't much care for the idea. Why do we need a crossover between the DC universe and Mortal Kombat? What do players have to gain? I soon realized, though, that it makes sense since the game Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe already familiarized the universes, so it wouldn't be too illogical to think that Scorpion entered the DC universe, as he technically was resurrected and transported to another world. One of the biggest assets of the character is that he can jump between dimensions, making him a difficult enemy to fight against. Those super sneaky ninja moves come in handy in a game that already uses game mechanics and the controls of Mortal Kombat gameplay. LEGO Batman 3 Beyond Gotham Green Loontern. It sounds strange, but if you haven't played LEGO Batman 3 yet, you should give it a try, because if you love the movie, the same comical genius with awesome gameplay. The game doesn't stray too far from the successful concept of the LEGO series of games. The player controls characters, there are over 150 to choose from, and uses them to fight enemies, solve puzzles, and collect LEGO studs, the in-game currency. Every comic book character has a unique ability related to what they would have in their particular series, and then something strange happened with the Green Lantern. We meet Duck Dodgers, the alter ego of Daffy Duck and a character from the Looney Tunes universe who accidentally comes across Hal Jordan's, the Green Lantern's, ring and outfit. He slips them on and he instantly becomes Green Loontern. Maybe the game wanted to play with great puns, or since Green Lantern isn't anyone's favorite character, they thought they could get by without too much backlash from fans. Either way, the results were unanimous, and adults, children, and critics enjoyed the gameplay. Mario Kart 8 Zelda and Animal Crossing DLC. Much like TV shows, if a series has 8 installments, it's doing something right. If you play video games and you haven't played one of the Mario Kart titles, you must be living under a rock. Seriously, go out and get one now. Mario Kart 8 was released in 2014, but it doesn't stray too far from its original gameplay. You still get to pick between character, albeit there are quite a few new options. There are some new features that we haven't seen, like those amazing anti-gravity sections. I don't see why they haven't done a crossover with Marvel so that we can have a Spider-Man driving around in a cart. You'll feel like Spidey scaling those walls and ceilings anyway. There was an interesting crossover edition for DLC content where you could play as Link from Zelda, the villager and Isabelle from Animal Crossing. I'm still rooting for that Marvel Universe crossover, although I don't see that reality happening anytime soon. Mortal Kombat 10 Friday the 13th. Mortal Kombat 10 was released in 2015 as a sequel to the Mortal Kombat that came out in 2011. The game has mostly stayed true to its roots, with the addition of the energy meter that came out in the 2011 edition of MK. It was used once again in MK10. It's a two-player game, or a single-player versus CPU, where the players fight against each other using their character-specific abilities. Just like in Injustice, characters can interact with the environment by using things as weapons or jumping off things to reposition themselves. Mortal Kombat decided to go the horror route by adding the Ultimate Horror Pack to the game, which included Jason Voorhees and horror-themed skins for Ermac, Reptile, and Melina. The one thing that NetherRealm Studios missed out on, though, was a Freddy vs. Jason in-game fight, as they only released Freddy for the MK10 mobile game and the console versions of MK9 to fans' sad disappointment. I guess we'll never get to see who would actually win in a fight between the two. I'm rooting for Jason, but only because I didn't get the Robert Englund Freddy I so needed for the game to be exceptional. Sonic Lost World Yoshi and Zelda Zones. Yeah, if you're looking for a Sonic game that embraces the idea of crossovers, then look no further than Sonic Lost World. A nice mix of classic and new experiences on the Wii U, Nintendo 3DS, and PC for gamers of any age. There are some nice parkour features added, and there's a definite emphasis on finding unique and alternative pathways to use. Most of you will be excited to see Sonic's trusty sidekick Tails has returned to help him defeat the Deadly Six, and there's an interesting ally on their side, Dr. Eggman. So the three embark on an adventure to stop an alien tribe that wants to siphon the energy of the Lost Hex. Okay, so Nintendo didn't stray too far from home with the addition of both a Yoshi's Island zone and a Zelda zone. After all, they own the rights to all the games. But it doesn't make it any less special to see Sonic in those worlds. I've always felt that Yoshi's Island was an underappreciated franchise, but this game pays great homage to it. The amazing original music composition and the ability to gain over 30 lives if you collect all the Yoshi eggs at the end of the level. The worst part, you'll have to score 100,000 points for the level to reappear. Zelda, on another note, is fantastic because Sonic will dress as Link and the rings will be replaced by rupees. If you like animals, well, that's one more reason to play this stage because every rupee you get will turn into an animal you save. Forget adopting a pet, just play Sonic Lost World for a less expensive alternative. Also, you won't be responsible for a furry little creature that counts on you to survive. Sometimes, you're probably not even sure how you've survived this long on your own. Let's not put an innocent animal at risk. Crash Bandicoot and Spyro Fusion. Spyro meets Crash. This game answered every childhood dream I've ever had with the two main antagonists of the games, Dr. Neo-Cortex and Ripto joining forces to eliminate the two most unlikely heroes of any game, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. The games were released in 2004 for the Game Boy Advance and quickly became as successful as previous games for the installments. These two had easily won the hearts of gamers everywhere, and now they had come together in a big way to defeat Dr. Cortex, Ripto, and the genetically modified minions that accompanied them. Now, gameplay wasn't anything special and could get old and repetitive quickly, but it wasn't really the gameplay we played this for anyways. We played it because we were fans of the characters and the storylines. There was one part of the minigames that really stood out, and that was racing through areas with a jetpack. If you give me a jetpack and funny dialogue, I'm entertained for hours on end. Plus, the dynamic duo of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, that in my opinion, makes for a winning game. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, Ratchet and Clank vs. Jak and Daxter. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale was a crossover fighting game that introduced many of our favorite characters into the battlefield together. They could only do this by coming up with a scientific and sound way to bring all the characters to the same place. The answer was to use time holes to scatter all the characters throughout PlayStation history, but only one hero would be able to restore the worlds to normalcy, or so they thought. It could also be one of our favorite PlayStation duos. I've always wanted to believe that there could be two options for these two hilarious duos. They either come from the same universe, or they're actually alternate versions of each other from another dimension. There are some pretty well-known Easter eggs in the Ratchet and Clank series, including posters alluding to Jak and Daxter and a planet Dax, so it wouldn't be too far to guess that they could be from different times in the same universe. PlayStation Move Heroes brought my two favorite PlayStation duos together to fight in a battle, and fans of both series couldn't have been happier. Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing, Banjo and Kazooie. I know that Sonic tried to mimic the appeal of Mario Kart with the Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing games, but it doesn't quite have the fan base of the Mario series. That's not saying it isn't a fun game, Sonic and Sega characters just aren't as popular or well-known. One of the crossovers of the game does feature probably helped gain some attention, and that was the addition of the playable characters Banjo and Kazooie. Banjo and Kazooie have an all-star move in the game called Jiggy Rain, where Kazooie pulls out Mumbo's magic wrens from Nuts and Bolts and calls forth giant jiggies from the sky. This sounds completely absurd, but the animation is something you just have to see to appreciate. These will fall onto other players, making them spin out, and the duo becomes invincible during the move. I liked the crossover, but it was definitely a strange move to combine Sega with the Banjo-Kazooie series, especially when none of the tracks really featured any relevance to the Banjo-Kazooie world. It feels a bit out of place. Fortune Street, Mario and Dragon Quest crossover. I'm always dismayed when people have no idea what Fortune Street is, but I guess that its roots became much more popularized in Japan and it actually wasn't released in North America until 2011 for the Wii. It was also the first game of the series to be released outside of Japan. Fortune Street is almost identical to a game of Monopoly, where the player rolls a die to purchase unowned property. They earn money when other players land on their properties, but unlike Monopoly, players can buy or sell stocks of a block to affect the value of properties. There were 25 characters from Itadeki Street DS that made a return in Fortune Street. Players can also choose to customize their Miis for the game. Sadly, Miis are only playable for single-player and online modes, but in multiplayer offline, you get to have your pick between the most bizarre video game mashup to date: Dragon Quest characters and Mario series characters. There was nothing more strange than seeing Slime and Mario on screen together. I kind of understand why Fortune Street never really took off in North America after visualizing it. Kingdom Hearts, Square Enix and Disney crossover. Now, Kingdom Hearts might not be one of the most bizarre crossovers to date, but when you think about how Disney is with their characters and the rights they own to many of the best series, well, it's kind of miraculous that Kingdom Hearts ever happened. Regardless, Square Enix developed the game and they only added the introduction of a few Final Fantasy characters. The game centers around Sora, Donald, and Goofy working together to defeat difficult bosses and venturing around Disney-themed worlds. A lot of people think that Kingdom Hearts only came to be because of an accidental meeting in an elevator between Tetsuya Nomura, the director of Kingdom Hearts, and an executive of Disney. The truth, though, was that Nomura had devised a plan for a similar RPG style with characters much like Sora, Riku, and Kairi, although without the involvement of Disney as early as 1997. As luck would have it, Disney and Square Enix would share a building in Japan where the two would be able to collaborate on a game that started off as a joke and ended up being one of the best RPG games ever produced. No one wanted to take on the Disney Square Enix game because it seemed taunting, but Nomura had amazing concepts already thought up that he was excited to try out, and fans of the Kingdom Hearts series are glad that Disney took a chance. Disney and Square Enix must really like the series because they also haven't produced a lackluster animated series for Kingdom Hearts fans to suffer through, and I think we can all appreciate the respect that comes with that. Now, I guess we'll all just wait patiently for the release of Kingdom Hearts 3. What games do you think would work really well as a crossover series? Are there any crossover games that we forgot to mention on this list? And we hope that this list has given you some ideas about how not to do a crossover. Although some of these games have been well received, sometimes you just have to leave a good thing alone. Mortal Kombat, I'm looking at you with your horror-themed editions. We hope you'll join us for more button-crunching fun, and you can do that by subscribing to our channel. As always, thanks for watching.